Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday Mindset on the Client Acquisition and Scaling for Web Devs, SEOs, and Marketing Agency channel. If you come to us from our Facebook group, thank you. If you need some reminders, let me know. I can get you text and or email reminders. We do this every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Why? Because we want to get our minds in the right space to have an amazing, prosperous work week. So without further ado, let's get going. Keep in mind, this is sponsored by Agency Fast Track. If you're new, type new in the comments. Just let us know that you're brand new. This is your first time joining. And Agency Fast Track, if you don't know what it is where you can go and get the tools and education you need to fast track your agency. Not a lot of shiny objects, not a lot of fluff, pure work to scale and get it done. Today, we're going to start with a quote from Mr. Napoleon Hill. And he said, "You are the master of your destiny. You can influence, direct, and control your own environment. You can make your life what you want it to be." And it's an apt quote today because that is who we're going to be talking about today, Mr. Napoleon Hill. And in fact, we're going to be covering why I was held back by my own beliefs and what I did and what I read that changed my world, my life, and really me as a human being. And I know I kind of teased on that, but it is so true. The transformation I made after reading this plus a couple other books, but this was a huge, huge impact in my life, really made a difference. Stay tuned because everyone who shows up, everyone who types the word think, hint, hint in the comments, I'm going to give you a free copy of Think and Grow Rich with a foreword I wrote, and you can have that absolutely free as a download after this call. So without further ado, let's talk about Think and Grow Rich. Now, today, I'm actually just getting in the mindset for this week. Last week, we had our welcome week to our new program, Agency Fast Track X Success. We had many returning members plus a bunch of new members. But this week starts the actual material. And one of the first things that I give to all of my fast trackers is this book. So I thought it'd be really cool this time if I went ahead and just gave it to everyone, hopefully to get you in the right mindset to start working on your business. I know in our program, it really gets the wheels turning. It has a lot of conversation in the back end. When we meet for our live, we just do a whole lot together and talk about it. So I'm going to briefly talk about it today. We do keep these to about a half hour. So I really don't have time to go into full details, but I just want to give you the overarching sense of why this book is so important to me. The name of the book is Think and Grow Rich. And the premise is pretty simple. The premise is you can have every single thing you desire in this life, but you must believe first. And I know right now, some people might be saying, well, I do believe. I believe. And I do have wants and I do have desires. And I think it can come true. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I don't want you to think it can come true. I want you to know it will come true. And it's a big transformation to go from I think to I know, and it may to it will. And notice I put on the screen pictures of gold bars and pictures of cars. For many people, that's what they think of when they think about growing rich. They think about the money. They think about the cars. They think about that side of the lifestyle, the physical things. I challenge you to think of the emotional side and the freedom that money can bring you. The emotional side of not having to worry where money is coming from, not having to constantly worry about how to pay the bills or pay the rent, not having to worry about, for some people even, how to eat, right? Food insecurity is real. And so when you think about a book named Think and Grow Rich, and then I say to you, you can have everything you desire, but you must first believe. I'm going to start today off by saying, whether you're watching live, whether you're on the YouTube channel, whether you're watching a replay, if you think you can grow rich, I want you to put the word think in the comments right now, and I will make sure to get a free copy of this book in your hands. So put think in the chat or the comments right now, please. Okay, let's meet Mr. Napoleon Hill. He wrote a book 83 years ago. And I know right now you're probably thinking, dang, this can't be, this has got to be out of date. This has got to be old. And I'm seeing a lot of think in the comments. Yes. A book that's 83 years old that I have picked up and read multiple times, in my opinion, is still as relevant today as it was the day Napoleon Hill wrote that book. He was a journalist, and he studied 500 very, very, very rich men. And their success, he found, really boiled down to 13 things. As he started looking at all the data, as he started interviewing people and talking to people and figuring out what, in fact, quote unquote, made these guys rich, it was 13 things that every single one of them had in common. And he went on to say the starting point of all achievement is desire. I want you to break that down a minute. And I know it seems very simple. The starting point of all achievement is desire. And we're going to go over the 13 points today. But I want to start with, what does that word mean, desire? Right? If you think you know what desire means, I ask you to stretch your mind to rethink it. So I want you to think about if you were hanging by your fingertips over a cliff, and life and death hung on these 4 fingers that were hanging on that cliff. The desire to live in that moment would probably be pretty strong. And we've heard stories of how people have done crazy things when adrenaline kicked in, right? And how people have saved their own lives and did things that were humanly impossible when they had that strong desire, that fight or flight, that live or die type of desire. And that's the kind of desire I want you guys to start thinking about. At the beginning, I said, I want you guys to have the same transformation I had. I went from thinking I could do stuff to knowing I could do stuff. I went from thinking I would succeed and hoping I would succeed to knowing I would succeed, because the desire in me grew so strong that failure simply became a non-option. That's the kind of desire Napoleon Hill identified in the 500 rich men that he interviewed. There was no going back. You guys, if you don't know, my favorite quote is by Tony Robbins, who says, if you want to take the island, then burn your boats. If you want something bad enough, you can't turn back, right? By burning your boats, you can't turn back. So you're probably going to see a theme in my mindset, in the shift that I made over the last 11 years in my business. I went from being a dreamer, and there's nothing wrong with dreaming, but I went from being a dreamer to a knower. In my mind, in my heart, in my being, in my body, I went from being a hopeful person to a very matter-of-fact person. This will happen, and I will succeed. Now, I'm not saying I didn't stumble. I'm not saying there weren't times where I had to turn around, go back, and then reclimb that hill. But my desire was so great that I couldn't let it go. I sacrificed everything to make it happen. And I've also learned some lessons along the way about sacrifice and how much you should and shouldn't do. And so there's no perfect path. But the 13 things that these men had in common, you're going to find are so easy. And that's what helped me change my life. Right? Now, 83 years ago, things were different. This book, the way it's written, is very different. In fact, it's a hard book to get through. It's hard because the way he talks is very old school, in very, I don't want to call it technical speak, but definitely not laissez-faire, we're just having a chat type of conversation. There are some things you can find out on the internet, people who have summed up the book. I am going to sum it up for you today. I still think it's a good read. I still think you should try to get through it. But no, it is a different book, and it can be a little bit hard to get through. So, number one, desire. We already talked about that. You have to want it. And I don't mean, yeah, I'd like to succeed. No. The desire that comes with something that there is no option of failure. I want this so badly with my being that there is no option of failure. Now, that's a very mindset type of thing. And everything we're going to talk about today leads right into Monday mindset, right? We have to change the way we think, because when we change the way we think, we change our lives, we change our businesses. I say that each and every week. This week, I'm trying to show you where some of that came from. This book, these concepts, these ideas really found their way inside of my brain, inside of my soul, and helped me really have the type of desire. And I'm not talking about the type of desire that says, hey, you got to work 20 hours to get there. No, the type of desire that says, I'd rather figure out how to work smarter and faster and get there sooner because I want it that bad. So first and foremost, you have to want it. You can't go after something that you kind of want, or maybe you want, or somebody else wants for you. You have to want it. It doesn't matter how bad your spouse or your family or your parents or your kids or your friends or your colleagues want it. You have to want it. If you don't want it, you're never going to go after it with the type of desire that's needed for success, and you're going to struggle. Desire, you have to want it badly. Number two, faith. You have to believe that you can achieve your goal. So I always talk about Bruno Mars and his song, I Want to Be a Billionaire. Does he want it? Does he have faith he can get it? Right? You have to believe that you can achieve your goal. Setting your goal to be a billionaire is not smart, because the difference between millions and billions is huge, huge. And maybe I'll do that next week for you guys. Maybe that's what I'll do on next week's mindset. I'll talk about numbers because I have this really cool example. But you have to believe. You have to have faith that this can happen, that you can achieve that goal. So the goal has to be achievable. If you've made $0 in your business, thinking that within a year you can make $1 billion, probably not a correct path. You can have faith, but you have to be realistic. So you have to believe you can achieve that goal. Number three, autosuggestion. This is the hardest one for me, and it might be the hardest one for you. I had to learn to do this, and now that I've learned it, I do it all the time. And basically what you're doing is you're using affirmations to reach your goal. Whether you write them down on a piece of paper, you've heard this before, put a note on a sticky paper and stick it to your mirror. So every morning when you look in that mirror, you see that note that says, I will succeed. I will make $1 million. I will quit my day job. Whatever it is that you desire, you have faith you can actually get and achieve, you now have to keep telling yourself you will do it. It reminds me of a movie called The Help. If you haven't seen it, a maid raises some children. And the little girl is ignored by her parents, but the maid every day tells the little girl, you are smart, you are kind, and you are beautiful. Every day, she affirms with auto-suggestion that this girl is good. And this girl hears it every single day. And what do you think she thinks when she grows up? That she's smart, that she's kind, and that she's beautiful or important, I believe she says. At the end of the day, those affirmations, both positive and negative, impact your brain, impact your success, impact what happens to you. If you're constantly being negative, then that auto-suggestion works in that way too. If you're constantly telling yourself you can't, then you won't. But if you're constantly telling yourself, I will, then you shall. And I know that's kitschy. I know sometimes, stuff like that, it's hard. I can't tell you that everyone's going to be okay with it. I don't write notes and put it on my mirror because I am not, comfortable with that. And I know people in my home would not be comfortable with that. So I don't do it. Instead, I do it mentally. I do it with screensavers. I do it with notes on my desk or notes in my drawer. I say stuff in my head all the time. I stop sometimes, put my head down and just think about what it is I want to achieve. And that gives me sometimes the motivation that day to go do more than I would have done had I not used those affirmations. So self-affirmations are super important. And remember, these are not things that are made up. These are things that when Napoleon Hill talked to 500 rich, very rich men, so far, the 3 things you've learned, every single one, they did. They had the desire, they had the faith, and they constantly told themselves how good they were, how great they were, and how good they were going to do. Number 4 is special knowledge. Now, this is the one people seem to get and do, right? We buy shiny objects, we buy toys, we buy things, software, training, courses, because we need to gain experience and we need to continue learning. So I'm not going to say a lot about this one because I know most people already do this. You're here today, which means you're continually trying to learn. You're trying to gain knowledge. You're trying to gain experience. So number 4 is pretty easy for most folks. So we're going to kind of pass on that one. Number 5, imagination. Imagination is not just thinking of ideas, thinking of things you can do in your business, thinking of ways you can do different things. It's also having the imagination to think about your success, to visualize your success. I remember when I put together Agency Fast Track X Success the first time. I had planned on having it done in July. And then I stepped back, took a big overview of what I was doing and thought, no, I need to visualize what a student, a learner, somebody going through the program, what would happen at the end of this program for them. I visualized your success when you go through that program. And then I work backwards from there. How do I make that happen? In the process, I also visualized my own success. I visualized what it would look like to have people sign up for the program. I visualized what it would feel like to have people succeed in the program. In other words, I thought about it. I manifested it. So I'm going to use the word. A lot of people don't like that word, but I manifested it. I knew this was going to be a success before I ever put together Agency Fast Track as a community, or now we have 3 very, very successful programs. But that was not by chance. It was not by luck. And it certainly wasn't just with hard work. The things you're learning today, these steps, these things we're going through, these 13 things that Napoleon Hill said were super important. These are the things that I started doing in my own life. I started doing in my own business. And I started realizing the success that I had desired. And when it works, you just don't question it. And that's what I've come to do. So visualizing your success, I want you to visualize not only what it looks like, how people react to it, how it makes you feel, how it makes your customers feel, how it makes your spouse feel, your friends, your family. I want you to think about it in such detail. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? Honestly, put it down like it was a waking dream. And again, some of this stuff makes people uncomfortable. It used to make me very uncomfortable. You know, people would say, do these things. And I'd be like, yeah, I ain't doing that. Because it made me uncomfortable. But it's when you get out of your comfort zone that you will have the greatest success. I promise you that. Getting out of your comfort zone is growth. And visualizing your success is something I want you to do on a daily basis. Okay, organized planning. Now that we desire something, we know we're going to get it. We're affirming ourselves. We are going out there and learning what we need to learn to make it happen. We're visualizing our success. Now we need to go do, right? We need to take action, but we need to take action in a way that's very organized and strategic. We don't just do whatever when we get up in the morning. That's what I used to do in my business. I would get up and I would go to the email and I would start putting out fires and responding. And my day was dictated by email or by phone calls or by Skype with people contacting me. And that had to stop. Sure, I needed to address those things. And I learned to make time blocks for those things and deal with those things. But I also needed to have time blocks to organize and plan my success, to plan out my strategy for the things that I desired. Those things I needed to take action on. And interestingly enough, those are literally the hardest things that we will take action on. Those are the things that get put aside, us. Whether you're a mother, father, single, no kids, whatever. We never take care of ourselves. We take care of others. Very common. Now it's time to take care of you. Organize your day, plan your day, organize your week, plan your week, and do the things you plan on doing. I had a customer yesterday on the weekend reach out to me that hasn't responded to me in 4 months. The project wasn't a good fit to begin with. And he just continues to try and try and try to get me to see it his way and do what he wants me to do. And I finally wrote back and said, it's just not a good fit. Because I know that project's going to take my focus away from taking action on things I want to take action on. It's not something I can just pass to my team. So I chose to say no. That's part of your organization. That's part of your planning. Number 7, decision. Whew, this was a tough one for me. I will beat things to death. I will research the heck out of everything. Analysis paralysis, I believe, was invented for me. But when I read this, when I knew this was something very common to 500 uber rich, I knew I had to pay attention. I knew I had to get and be more decisive. I had to stop procrastinating. I had to stop analyzing. And Napoleon in the book goes on to talk about some men that actually told him, right or wrong, I made a decision. And I did it fast, swiftly, and it was very decisive. And if it was wrong, then I lived with those consequences and did what needed to be done to autocorrect. But the men never stopped and got that kind of paralysis I used to get. And so I knew I had to start making decisions, good or bad, right or wrong, and then live with those decisions. We're going to make wrong decisions. We're going to make bad decisions. It's just part of the process. In the book, he talks about a certain automotive manufacturer who made some big mistakes. But when asked, would you go back and do it again? The answer was yes. Yes. The reason being is because indecisiveness will actually hold you back. Indecisiveness is worse than being wrong. Not doing anything is worse than doing something wrong. Man, that opened my eyes. That was something that I was like, I can see that now. Everything's 2020 in hindsight, right? So we have to be better at making decisions. We have to stop procrastinating. We have to just get out there and start moving towards that goal, because we now know in our hearts, we are going to get there. In our minds, we tell ourselves we're going to get there. So now we just need to start making the decisions to do it. Okay, number 8, persistence. Don't stop until you get what you want. You just, again, go back to that quote from Mr. Anthony Robbins. If you want to take the island, burn your boats. There's no going back. When I decided Agency Fast Track was going to be something big, and I don't mean big because of me, I mean, I was an agency owner. I knew what it was like to struggle. I knew there was nothing out there that definitively gave me all the tools to succeed, and I had to figure it all out on my own. Once I put it into action, once I had that desire, once I knew I was going to do it, nothing was going to stop me. Now, I don't mean that in an aggressive or bad way. I just knew I wasn't going to stop. And if I failed, I was going to go down a different road. And if that failed, I would go down a different road. And it's funny because when I stopped worrying about when it or if it was going to happen, because I actually said it's going to happen. When I started living these 13 principles, doors just opened. Things started happening. I'm not saying I didn't make mistakes. I did. I'm not saying things didn't always go my way, because they didn't. But I never stopped until I got what I wanted. And some people would see that as a negative. Well, it's all about you. Yeah, it is. And it should be all about you. Of course it is. I think of the airplane and the safety briefing. When the mask comes down, put it over your mouth first, then help those around you. You can help more people by helping yourself first. You can help more people by having that very, very, very personal goal. Agency Fast Track was a personal goal, but the end result was to help people. And it's that persistence that I was not going to stop. I was going to make this happen no matter what. And that's how I actually started my third company that I'm involved in now. Now, I wish I had a lot of these tips when I started my agency. It would have been so much better and so much smoother, right? And just having these 13 rules, so to speak, are not going to help as much as being around people, which we're going to learn next. The power of the mastermind. Surround yourself with the best. Surround yourself with the best. Surround yourself with people who think like you, who are positive like you, who affirm themselves like you, who have the same mindset as you, the same desires as you. Seems weird, but if you're always around positive, you're probably going to be positive. If you're around rich people, you're probably going to become rich. If you're around smart people, you're going to get smarter. When you surround yourself with the best, whether it be in this mastermind group, going through our programs, coming to our masterminds when we have live masterminds, whatever it is, getting around people that are the best at what they do, that have the same traits we're talking about today, they're going to push you forward. They are going to make you better. Ever been around that person, friend, family member, whoever, that's kind of the Debbie Downer, not really fun to be around? And you notice when you're around them, you start getting a poor attitude as well. And you chalked it up to, well, it's because I'm irritated with them. Doesn't matter. It's effective, isn't it? But have you ever been around that person that's so happy and joyful that you could just smack them? They're so happy. But despite that, you find yourself smiling and being happy too. It's true. If we surround ourselves with negativity, it's unhealthy for our goals, for our beliefs, and for what we need. So surround yourself with the best. Surround yourself with the best, which brings me to number 10. And this is the hardest one of every single one of these. Choose a compatible partner. Choose a compatible partner. For many of us, we've already made that choice. When I started my business, I was already 15 years into a marriage. I'd already chose my partner. So if your partner thinks negatively, if your partner isn't on the same path as you, if your partner isn't really supporting you, one of the things these 500 men had in common was that they had supportive partners. Now, I'm not saying or suggesting in any way you go out and you divorce or you find new people. But in our program, one of the things we talk about heavily is how to go out and have good conversations. We actually have lessons on it. We talk about it. But that partner, whether it be a spouse, a significant other, that person in your life, if there is one, has a huge play in your success, whether you realize it or not, whether you want it or not. So you have to learn what to look for if you don't have a partner yet, why it's important to get that compatible partner, or if you're actually already in a relationship, how can you change things? Or in some cases, how do you just let it go and not try to change someone, but surround yourself and do some of the other things? So it's super important. It's one of the things that all of us are going to struggle with, right? This is probably going to be the hardest thing, especially if you're in a relationship like I was. And by the way, I'm still in that same relationship 25 years as of now, but there were things we had to deal with. There were things that had to come up and we had to talk through. And again, when you're in our program, you do hear about those things. I'm very candid, very raw, very open. And I actually show you exactly the changes I made in my business. I get very candid in that program. Okay, number 11, the subconscious mind. Master positivity, dismiss negativity, period. You have to stay positive. You have to be positive, and you want to surround yourself with positive people as much as possible. Because if you do not, that negativity will get in. That doubt will get in, and you can't let it. The worst problem you could have is that everything in your world is so positive that it's sickening. And I know some people don't like that, but you have to be positive. Now, I'm not going to get into any, things like chemicals or our mental states and stuff, but there are just some people who aren't that positive due to those reasons. And I, again, am not prescribing or diagnosing. At the end of the day, I'm just saying, do what it takes to get in that positive space as often and as much as possible. Number 12, the brain. Associate with other smart people and learn from them. You guys do that. I'm not saying I'm smarter than anyone. I've just been down the road ahead of you. When you actually follow people, when you learn from other people, even people in our programs, have a lot to offer to other people. When we associate with people who are like us and are smart and wanting to achieve the same things, we can learn from them. If nothing else, it brings us just a sense of peace to know that we're not alone on the planet, right? Other people think the way we think. Other people act the way we act. So associate with other smart people and learn from them. And finally, Number 13, the sixth sense. Trust your gut. I remember one time I wanted to join a program, and this program was thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And I just knew my gut was telling me, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. I used a couple of these skills, and I used a lot of stuff I learned in this program to walk out my door, ask my spouse in the best way, hey, you know, if you give me a minute, can we sit down? I want to talk about something that's super important to me. The way I framed it, the way I did it. Remember, I have to get buy-in, right? If we have support in our life, things go better. And I trusted my gut, and I bought that program, and it transformed quite a bit with this program. And this Facebook group wouldn't exist had I not taken that program. And I wouldn't be doing, by the way, this is our 50th Monday Mindset. We've been doing it over a year, but I missed a couple. In the whole year, I've missed, I think, 2. So we're on number 50. This is number 50. Trust my gut. Whether you guys sign up for the program or not, it's unimportant to me. Because my goal with Agency Fast Track is to help other agencies succeed. Do I think you'll have more success in a program? Of course. But when you're ready, you'll know. And when you know, trust your gut and join us. Okay, with that, couple things. You guys know we're starting Agency Fast Track X Success. We started it last week. Last week was just our welcome session. This week, we actually start the materials. The reason I shared that this week is because this is just one thing we talk about in week 1. We talk a lot about our beliefs and our mindset. We talk about spouses. We talk about so much stuff before we get into the thick of things and all the good stuff in the program. We actually dive deep. This is not a superficial experience. And anyone in here that's been through the program in the comments, definitely, chime in and let others know how this impacted your mindset. Because on Monday Mindset, that's what we're talking about, changing our minds. If you're on the fence right now, I do want you to trust your gut. Stop waiting, right? There's no right time to ever move forward. It is now. Okay, I put a link on the screen. I'm not going to put it in the chat. Just go ahead and type that in. You do have to put the www dot. Remember that, because we're trying to fix the C name on the other. But trust your gut. Jump in the program, right? If anything, grab the free book. Let that guide you. Okay. Now, if you did not type the word think, or if you're late, type the word think in the chat. We're going to contact everyone and get you the link to download that free book. If you're on the fence and you're not sure if you want to join our program, now is the time, right? This is the week we get started. This is the week that 12 weeks from now, you're going to look back on and say, man, I'm glad I trusted my gut. I'm glad I invested in myself. Okay. If you're not sure, and I've offered this a couple times now, once the program starts, I'm going to stop offering this because I won't have time, because then, I really, really, really spend with the people in the program. But if you're not sure, there's a link on the screen, just schedule. You don't have to ask me. You don't have to, if 30 minutes is open, take it for yourself. Jump on a call with me. Let's talk about where you are. I'm not going to talk you into going to the program. That's not the goal. The goal is to answer your questions and see if this is the right fit for you, if this is the right time for you. So Dale said, Lisa's programs are life-changing. Do it for your future. Dale, I know it's changing your life. Dale has changed my life. That's what I love about Agency Fast Track, what I love about this community. Dale changed my life. His positivism, every time he gets on one of these and does a thumbs up, it puts joy in my heart. And believe it or not, little things like that make us successful, right? Christy said, I think I love this book. Christy, I do love this book. In the program, we also give you links to some videos that go along with this book. And we have other things we want you to watch in week 1. There's TED Talks we asked you to go watch. Why? Because I am going to walk you through this program with you guys literally knowing what I know. Now, I always come here, I provide value. I never apologize for pitching my stuff. That's the whole point, right? At the end of the day, I do want you to join a program, but not because I'm just trying to make a buck. It's because I've seen so many successes, and Agency Fast Track is bigger than me. And that's exactly what we set out to do. Okay, with that said, here's our quote we're going to end with today. And of course, it's by Mr. Napoleon Hill. Do not wait. The time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work whatever tools you may have at your command. And better tools will be found as you go along. With that, keep this in mind. You join our programs, things will change. You don't join our programs, keep coming back here. You'll know when the time is right. But just remember, the time is never going to be just right. Right? The best time to start something is in the present. Okay, Christy said, I just rewatched the video based on this book a couple weeks ago. Great reminder. Yeah, Christy, I have that like in my mix, and sometimes I just put it on and let it go while I'm working on something, so my subconscious mind hears the words. Patty said, I listened to this condensed book on Audible. Awesome. Get off the fence and learn from Lisa. Thanks, Patty. I know, Patty, you're going through the course again this time. Love it. All right, guys, tomorrow, Tuesday, is our actual class. It's at 10 a.m. So it's the same time as this tomorrow. If you're not in our program, get in there. I had the link on the screen. I'll put it back on the screen here in a minute. It's right here. Go check out the program. Otherwise, thank you guys for coming. As always, I come here to feed your mind, give you some great aspiration. So every single week, me, as well as you, we can get in the right mindset to be prosperous and productive each and every week. And as always, remember, you must change your mindset to change your business. I'll see you guys next week.